Hey, Girl Chat Sports with Mel and Miss Ballin D today. Hey, Miss Ballin D, thank you for joining in as our special guest host. Mo is not feeling so great today and kind of feel like she just wanted to watch this Lakers Clippers game. Although looking at halftime right now, I'm not sure she really wants to be watching it. But, I'm sure the Lakers, they're a second half team. So we'll see how this goes for them. But thank you for joining me. I know you've had a busy day. No Plays Off Sports Talk, your podcast was just on not too long ago at 6. Great show. You had a great guest there from Oklahoma, or Las Vegas based Oklahoma guy. So that was great. But yeah, thanks for joining and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always an honor to join you on the stream. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we love our fellow women in Vegas sports and just in sports fans in general, and being able to share the sports knowledge out and around the town. But before we get into it, I did just want to say, because I'm wearing my special hoodie, and today was the day that Air
Ah.
released. And we all know that I'm a huge Jordan fan. I got to see a pre-screening, so shout out to Deborah Porter within the Ladies Room Productions, as well as my girl Alicia Gibbs, because I got to see a pre-screening. And let me just tell everybody, if you haven't seen it yet, because there was chances for people to go see it on Saturday early, you've got to see it. I mean, first, it's not even the Michael Jordan factor. It's just the history, the Nike. They play a lot of old clips from like early Jordan years. The story behind the shoe, the Jordan brand. It's just, I could have sat there and probably watched this movie a couple more times just in that same night. It was just that good for me. For me,
I'm a
I
slacker. I
don't.
didn't even know that it was coming out. Like I seen when you were I think you had posted something about being at the preview or something. And I was like, I had no idea it was coming out. I had no idea what it was about. So I'm like, there's some new Michael Jordan movie coming out.
So it caught my eye because they had the commercials during the Super Bowl, and I was like, wait a minute, there's a Jordan movie? Okay.
Yeah.
So my clock started rolling, but yeah, it was luckily I had gotten a nice little hookup to get there. I actually, one of my friends won this nice little Air Jordan Premier hoodie. And since it's still 50 degrees in Vegas in April, I get to sport it. As like
I'm
you,
so
you
over
got to
that.
see you rocking your hoodie too.
Yes, I'm over it.
Yeah, the temperature is just is not helpful these days, but
This weekend we're
anyways.
supposed to be in the 80s, so I guess we
Hey,
can't
I'm
wait for
I,
that.
I'm guessing this hopefully is the end. We'll see, but it's just like we had such a beautiful like spring Saturday, Sunday this weekend, and then to get hit right in the face on Monday and yesterday and today with these temperatures has been a lot. Has been a lot, especially
Yesterday
for
was
us that live in
freezing.
Vegas. We've this is the coldest it's been this time of year in like decades.
I'm over
Decades.
it. Over it.
You
That wind yesterday was freezing. It was blowing so hard.
Listen, nobody understands that a 50-degree day in Vegas is nice, but if you add the wind, it's like freezing. You got
Freezing.
beanie, down vest. I mean, everything is on. So, but
Over
anyway,
it.
I want to get into a couple hot topics. Of course, March Madness is officially over. Shout out to anybody who won any kind of money out of their tournament brackets, because this year was nuts. And I know you addressed it a
Insane.
little bit. Yeah, I know you addressed it a little bit on your show in regards to kind of like what that transfer portal is doing to especially the men's side of basketball. And I know that this is probably just going to be a start of what we see. We've already seen a lot of guys, including guys here at UNLV, already enter the transfer portal to get out of here and to make those switches to better teams. It's like, is this going to be like a new NBA where you're just deciding to move to a winning team every year? Like, when does it stop? When is
It
it
has
going
to
to
stop somehow. Like you said, on the men's side, 1,100 players are already in the transfer portal. Four of UNLV players have already left. Even the guest we had on for Oklahoma, Jalen Hill, four players prior to him already left. I'm like, when is it going to be over with? It's going to be ridiculous.
it, and if they don't make any adjustments to it or make some kind of rules behind it, because I don't know if there are rules behind it now, if you have to be at a school for a year or 2 years before you can enter, if you can just enter at any time. But it seems like if there aren't no rules to it, eventually it's going to be just a zoo. Every year it's going to be a zoo. And your team might have been not even in the March Madness brackets, and then next thing you know, you're winning a championship because of how things happen. I mean, Crazy times. Before we get into the women, I do want to shout out to the men. The men did had a very intriguing March Madness run. We saw a lot of upsets. No number ones in the Final Four, which was crazy. Seeing San Diego State, a Mountain West Conference team in the
Yeah,
finals,
yeah,
like that's big time right there. And then,
that's
of
dope.
course, yeah, and then you got UConn who took it away, and they definitely deserved it. I mean, they outplayed San Diego State. San Diego State did have a chance to come back. I think they were only down by like 5 points in the fourth quarter, but it was a UConn show, and UConn was getting it, and they just did it. They did a great job.
The game was just so boring. It was so dry. I mean, like San Diego State went like almost 10 minutes, like 9 minutes without scoring a basket. I mean, and they weren't just like missing, like they were missing wide open shots. They were missing wide open layups. I was like, this has to be the boringest championship game in a while.
It was kind of like the most boringest Final Four, even too. Like it just, I feel like because the women were, it was so much attention on the women this year. I mean, me personally, I've said it since before the tournament started. I was like, I'm watching the women hands down. Like this year, of course, you always want to watch the women, but this year especially just seemed like there was so much talent in there. There were so many great games you're going to watch. And then the men just kind of fell back seat to it, which I'm not mad about. You know, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and like you say, kudos going out to San Diego State. You know, first time playing in a championship game. Of course, that entire conference is going to get some monies to boost. You know, the fact that they made it.
Sure.
We'll get
Right.
some cut in that. So that's a good thing. So that was exciting for San Diego State and the Mountain West. So other than that, I was like, as it got down late into like the Elite Eight, I'm like, okay, Final Four, all right. I kind of wanted FAU to win, but then after that, I was like, oh, I'm really over it. Like I kind of felt like eventually San Diego State wasn't going to be able to compete with UConn. So I was just like, I'm like you, I had real no interest in it, but I watched it because I'm a basketball fan.
Right. It's the Final Four. I mean, it's the final game. You kind of want to watch it, but it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't entertaining. I even put money on San Diego State just because there was like plus, I think like 450 at one point. I was like, I mean, why not? Like, put my $10 and let me see if I can make some out this. And of course, I didn't at all. But it was just, it's part of the process. But I think I'm not even, I'm a Pac-12 girl, but seeing Mountain West in the championship was just, I think that was just in itself part of the great part of the men's tournament for them.
Don't take
You
away from
can't,
San Diego State. They had a good season too. I mean, they played well. They won the Mountain West. They just were outplayed by a better team.
of course, yeah, they couldn't hang on that one. They did great getting there, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like the tank ran low and they're on E sliding into the championship, which unfortunately was the case for them. But we need to talk about the women because I know
Yes.
you dressed it a little bit, but they had the most viewed NCAA D1 women's basketball game on record. So there was average was not almost 10 million viewers on average, and there was a high peak of 12.6 million viewers to watch this one ladies game.
That's dope.
That's what you got to give it up for.
That's
And
dope.
we already knew that they had already outshined NBA games in the previous, like during the other rounds of March Madness. The women have maintained such a great position in this tournament, and it's really been amazing to watch and see. Of course, we'll get into a little bit of the drama post championship and some of the stuff that's happened. But knowing that, and I want to talk with you because I know we both love our WNBA, and I know you talked to Kev for a second about, with all this passion that's for women's basketball in college, why isn't that not translating into the WNBA factor? Because I always hear the guys, oh, I can't understand. I don't understand. Women's college basketball is so much faster paced, and I just, for me, I feel like I'm seeing those same stars that are in college basketball move on to the WNBA, and they're stars in the. Why are we not watching them as much? I don't get it.
I it's the same thing Kev asked on my show too. He's like hopefully that this excitement and the energy and the viewership will transfer over to the WNBA. And I'm like you. I'm startled as to why it wouldn't. When you get breaking record, 9.9 million people are viewing a WNBA or a college championship game. Like you said, those same players are transferring over to the Dub. I mean, it was exciting basketball. A lot of people were saying, well, the girls' game, the women's game is more fundamental. But if you saw a lot of the comments during the women's championship game and the women's tournament, a lot of people were talking about how fundamental sound teams like Iowa, how fundamental the game
Right.
was on the women's side. So I don't know why that kind of is, like I said, because the same players are transferring over. I know it's a bigger game in the
Sure, I think there's
WNBA
more
than the
revenue. I
college.
think you're rooting more for some of your teams, your conference maybe, but I feel and maybe there's not enough teams yet in the league to where people can find like their home team maybe, having only 12 teams, you got 12 cities, it's not encompassing the country or even the globe, but it's just, your favorite players are playing for team. I'm a Husky. I was down with Kelsey Plum before the Aces
Yeah,
got here. Like, this is part of you follow your excitement with whom I don't know. I still don't get it, me personally. Of course, I will admit that I wasn't always a WNBA fan back in the day. Like, I mean, I grew up in Seattle. I
yeah.
left before the Storm got there, but I still wasn't. I mean, I knew the Storm, watched a couple games. I wasn't a WNBA fan until really I moved here, and the Aces kind of just made me one. So it may grow on people, and I hope it does. It's going to be interesting. We'll get
Did
a
you
little bit
see how
later.
how many Iowa fans were there? I mean, they traveled near and far, and those tickets weren't cheap. Like the average ticket price was $400+ for the women's tournament compared to the men. I mean, and there were a lot of Iowa fans in the stands.
There were a lot. And I will say this, I wanted to shout out now since we're talking about it, but a shout out to our previous guest, one of the friends of the show, Natasha Gransberry, the AKA the sports stadium queen. She was there for all of the men's and women's excitement in Texas through Dallas and Houston. Was it Houston, or it was always all in Dallas? And she got to wear one of the GirlChatSports hats, what I appreciate her for. But
Nice.
in one of her posts, she actually said the entire state of Iowa is here, and I think Minnesota as well. Like,
I
there's
believe it.
so many people here from
They were
up.
so
They
many.
they traveled. Like,
Yeah,
it's just. I mean, for LSU, that's not a bad drive from New Orleans to
yeah.
Dallas. I've made that drive myself. It's not terrible, but to come in from Iowa all the way down there, it's just
They
they
were
traveled
there.
hard. They were
Yeah,
doing their thing. It was really amazing to see. And when there's a picture I got too of just when both women's teams were coming through the audience. So
that's a
this is
great
just
picture.
getting into the stadium,
That's
which is
nice.
crazy. But I knew I was going to show up because I remember there was a post. I think this was like maybe during the first or second round. Iowa's tickets sold out in 15 minutes for their
I
first two
saw that.
rounds.
I saw that.
And I think they also had lined up outside their stadium like 2 hours prior to tip off, lined up just for
Oh,
women's
they were ready.
basketball. They ready. They knew they were
Yeah,
ready. I mean,
they
that's
ready.
just
It'd be good if like you said, that same energy we can find the same fans support the WNBA. I mean,
yeah.
the WNBA ratings have been improving and going in the right direction, but the mystery question that everyone seems to figure out is why doesn't the same support kind of transfer over to the WNBA?
Like, why are you hating on it? Like, I guess it's more like if everybody seems open to watching college basketball because there's some good games, there's some great games in the WNBA. We've
Yeah,
seen them live. Like, there's some
yeah.
great games that happen, and it's like people just, I guess, I can't make people fans. I can only hope. But hey, we'll get a little bit more into it because we do have the WNBA draft coming. I want to talk about that. That happens on
Yes.
Monday. But I do want to talk about this thing now because everybody is so heavily devoted in women's sports. It's the trash talking because people seem to be so concerned and have no idea, and maybe don't think it's very ladylike in sports to trash talk, but this is something that's been happening for years and years and years. We're just seeing it more because people are watching the game more.
Yeah.
And I know Caitlin had posted that. She said maybe men have always trash talked. You should be able to play with that emotion. That's how every girl should come to play. And if you're living and breathing
Men
and
have always
playing
tried to.
basketball 24/7, that's something that you should be doing.
Yeah, I just
You're
the
passionate.
it's part of the game, you know what I mean? And it's so sad, as I mentioned on my show, is it's so sad. It's not the first time that the ladies have been criticizing for celebrating or playing with emotion and being
Mm-hmm.
criticized for it. It's like, why? It's a part of the game. Why aren't they able to celebrate and show their emotions and do their trash talking without the negative attention that that they get? It's just, I think it too comes back on us as media personnel. Is we're
Yeah.
the ones who are creating and driving this narrative. As a lot of people, have talked about. Caitlin Clark came out today and said she doesn't want Angel Reese to get the backlash that she's gotten. But I think us as media personalities have to be responsible, have to be holding ourselves accountable in regards to what narrative we're trying to create and draw, because we're the ones who making all the hype. They didn't do anything.
Right.
Twitter blew
Why
up
was why
with
is
the
that
drama.
storyline even going out? Like, how is that even? Because
Exactly.
we saw some major media names come out with some not so great things being said about Angel Reese. We're all
Yeah.
going over the thing and the trash talking back and forth. But again, like, it wasn't brought out when Caitlin Clark was doing it, but they are doing it for Angel Reese, and
And
that's
then
something that it just, yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and then too, you get these media personnel or these digital creator content creators who they're not regular reporters on the league or the WNBA or women's sports, so they really don't know the inside and outs of who these players are. They really don't know the full characteristics of these players. They may get a breaking story or follow it because it's the tournament. They don't really regularly follow these players, so they really have no clue in regards to the backstory of a lot of these players. So again, I think it falls on the responsibility of us as media personnel is to be accountable in regards to what narrative that you're trying to draw and push forward.
Absolutely. And I think that was the other thing too, is, it got into this big, we already are dealing with number 45 getting arrested and having to go in. And so we've got that race war happening that's
Yeah.
returning because now he wants to going back into the presidency in 2024. You've got that, along with now you're trying to put two great women athletes against each other. And both of them even came out and said, like, I have nothing personal with her. Like, you guys are the ones that are making this storyline up.
Yeah.
You guys are what making, you guys are the ones that are making Angel Reese out to be the bad person. And she's not. She's doing what Caitlin was doing just a game before. I'm sure Caitlin had a few slick words throughout that whole game when they're battling back and forth for the championship. Like,
Yeah.
we all don't hear what's being said on court, but then media want to go off of just actions and what they see on a clip or a video and make a whole, clickbait, title for a piece they're doing. And it's ridiculous.
It's
It was
disgusting. I
ridiculous.
mean, and like you said, it's bad enough that we still live in a color divided world. You know what I mean?
Very.
And you'd say, well, why do we always have to make it about race? Well, when you have instances like this where it's black and white is really the focus of it's really what it came down to. You can try to downplay this but much as you want, but that's really what it came down to. And to think that in 2023 we're still having these same type of discussions, it's disgusting.
It's terrible. And I think it made it worse. And not to make it worse, but of course you've got Iowa with a predominantly white school, a predominantly white team versus LSU, a predominantly black team. And they just for those that are already on those race war lines, it just added fuel to their fire.
Yep. Yep.
And it's sad that we're here again. But I'll give it up for Angel. She had a great pod she did on, I think it was Papers podcast. She said,
Yes.
be who you are, never feel like you're too small for somebody or you're too loud or you're too ghetto. I think that's gotten me to where I am. The negative people are going to say what they have to say, and that's on them. I know I've impacted a lot of people. And she said, she mentioned, like, I'm doing this for the little girls out there that look like me, that know that they can do whatever I'm doing, and that's okay. And I think that's great. She said, I applaud Angel Reese for how she's handled this, and for what she's done in this situation. I also, feel bad for Caitlin, because I mean, I don't think she's ever intended for any of this stuff to happen, and especially be against, to have it happen to Angel. It's just, again, media and the way that things are perceived and the way that people are writing about it. It just went too far. It went too
Yeah,
far.
it went way too far, and Angel was saying, like you said, she was doing it for the little girls who don't look like her. And, from the jump, you called us ghetto. You said I didn't fit your narrative. I didn't fit in your
Mm-hmm.
box. And me, myself, personally, I related to it 100% as a Black woman trying to make it in the industry that we're trying to make it in. And, the lifestyle that I live, always trying to, fit the narrative to be accepted. You know what I mean? It
Right.
has to be a terrible feeling to not be able to truthfully live life in your own skin to be comfortable. That has to be a closet that has to be trapping that I can't imagine. But as a Black woman, to know what that feels like, it's just disgusting.
It's yeah, and
Yeah.
the other thing that got in after this stat happened, then you also have our first lady who chimed in, and I don't know Jill Biden well. I don't know her at all. I don't, I know maybe it was just a slip of just trying to be all loving and encompassing of women in basketball, but she did tweet out that she thought that due to the sportsmanship and the competitiveness of the game, that maybe that Iowa should come to the White House too. Now we all know if you are any kind of sports fan, only winners of championships, professional championships, get invited to the White House. It's happened for decades, maybe a century. Who knows? I mean, that's the only people that go to the White House,
Right.
period.
Right. Right.
And Jill
That's
had
the
mentioned, yeah.
tradition of what happens.
And that's tradition. It's not, there are no participant trophies for coming to the White
No.
House. There are
No.
no number twos. It's just how it
No.
goes.
Yeah, and Angel
Super
Reese came
Bowl,
out today
World
and she's like,
Series,
"Oh,
all
yeah,
that.
exactly, exactly." She's like, yeah, we'll go to the White House, and maybe we should be invited to go see our former first lady, Barack and Michelle." And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah, she said that she was like, we're gonna go over to Brock and Michelle's house instead. And I
yeah,
was like, the only thing that I didn't necessarily care for her saying when in that podcast was that she doesn't accept Jill Biden's apology. And my thing is like, I know you don't agree with it. I know you're not happy about it. I know Jill probably wouldn't have said that if it was LSU coming in number 2, or maybe she would have. We really don't know because it was such a great team and it was such a big, I guess, storyline for women's basketball is having these two grades going head to head in the championship. And I was just like, that one thing that she mentioned when she said, I don't accept her apology, I was like, well, I mean, you can accept it, doesn't mean you're okay with it. I mean, yeah, she did say what she said. You said what you said. I just personally was kind of like, well, I mean, it is the first lady of the United States. Like,
I mean, I get both ends. Because again, did you coming from what everything that they're dealing with in regards to the bigger picture of it all? Did you
yeah,
come out and apologize, Jill, because you really felt compassionate to apologize, or what was it? PR control? Oh
right.
crap, we got to figure. You know what I mean? Did you really mean it because you felt, how they felt? You really agree with them, or I can kind of see both sides where saying, keep your apology at this point. You know what I mean? That it maybe she felt like it didn't come from a sincere place. Maybe, who knows?
Absolutely. No, we don't know. And that's the thing is I think
Yeah.
when it first initially happened, she had a spokesperson come out with for her talking about, oh, well, she didn't mean it like this. So like I said, if it had been like, Jill calling and saying, hey, this is my bad or whatever, one thing. But
Yeah.
if it's press or a spokesperson typing up a PR notice, that's a little different. I wouldn't
Yeah.
accept that as well. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just sad that it went to that. But yeah, what's up? Shout out to Goose. Shout out Kevin Ray here in the comments. Goose says no losers on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There are. You don't put no second.
No.
There's no number twos that come into the
No.
White House. Period.
No. No. But did you hear that I can't pronounce her name. The young lady who plays for LSU, her last she was on,
Floje.
she's the rapper.
Yes. Well, I was going to talk about
Yes.
her too. Yeah.
Yes. They were saying she possibly may have a deal coming out with Lil Wayne. I'm like, that's pretty
So
dope.
I didn't. Oh, sorry, this isn't it. Let me find it. I didn't realize she's signed with Rock Nation. So
Yeah.
she's a freshman at LSU. She's signed with Rock Nation. Lil Wayne was already tweeting with her. She says that her favorite producers now all want to work with her, and it's her time. She also told ESPN that she wanted to win a national championship and a Grammy by the time she finishes college. So she's halfway there.
Nice.
She's a freshman, y'all. She ain't going nowhere right now. I
And
mean,
she's a baller.
and she's a baller. And I also didn't realize she her father was
Yep.
camouflage.
Yep. Yep. She's
So I
dope.
mean,
She's dope.
it's amazing.
But
She
that goes
really
back to, again, like I said, of media personnel. If we take the time to tell these individual
to tell
stories,
those
that's something
stories.
that we will be able to say, oh, this is uncharacteristic of this person. This isn't something that Angel Reese was doing maliciously. She was just in the moment of celebration and trash talking. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if we took the time to know these individuals beyond the basketball court, then that's something that we would have known.
Well, and I think too is that they even showed clips of her that, of course, resurfaced after the fact of her playing like pickup ball, and I think in a tournament back in AAU days, and she had the same trash talking then. Like nothing's changed. She didn't just start this because of what happened in a different game. She's been this way, and this is her. And that's what it shouldn't be offensive to anybody that you're seeing women trash talk in basketball. That just makes the game even better.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, in my
And,
opinion.
and she, even if she was trash talking, she has every right to. We were talking about a player who she's gotten 34 double doubles, the most in a
Yes.
season. Like
Yes.
she's a beast.
She's blocking with one shoe on. I mean, she's like,
She's a baller.
she's got, yes, she Bayou Barbie got her hair, her nails, her lashes on. She's doing it all and is a
Yeah.
great athlete, and that should be
Yeah.
celebrated. So, the
Absolutely.
other thing to be celebrated is that her and her cousin playing for UConn, Jordan Hawkins, both get the championship, which
That's
I
dope.
think,
Family ties. Yes.
man, listen, they said that barbecue out in Bmore is going to be pretty aggressive.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
That is amazing. I know
That's dope. That's
all the
nice.
aunties and uncles coming out for that one. They got to go represent for the family.
For
But that's
sure.
just
That's
there was
dope.
another
That's
picture they
nice.
showed of what is it?
Joe
Was it,
Burrow.
yeah, but who I forgot the girl that came, Alexis.
Oh,
Lex
yeah, Alexis Morgan.
Yes. She came off them last 2 games for
Yes,
them.
she
And
did.
honestly, I don't know if LSU would have pulled it off without her those last 2 games, but she did her best Joe Burrow impersonation there with the stogie for the championship, doing it typical LSU style.
Yeah, she took it
Oh yeah.
personal though. She was saying,
Yes, she did.
came out saying, I think she's from Houston or has some ties to Houston or to Texas, and she was just talking to trash about how the previous game Iowa was kind of like shooing off South Carolina
Uh-huh.
to shoot the
Yeah.
ball. I'm like,
Yeah.
she was like, no, that's disrespectful. We can shoot. Y'all not gonna do that to us. So
Right.
she was in her bag. She was on a
She was
personal
in
mission
there.
mission to win
Yeah.
that championship.
Yeah, Kevin said I love her her nickname I think on Twitter is like Lex Luthor. I
Nice.
don't know if that's the one you were talking about, Kevin, but I know that her Twitter handle is like Lexi Luthor or Lex Luthor, and I was like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
legit. It's gonna be real interesting to see how things go. But yeah, March Madness was a whole lot. We got
Sad to
we
see
just
that the
got
whole thing that she can't that Angel Reese can't come out yet into the draft, man, because I think she's ready now. Can you imagine in a year or so when
well,
she's eligible to come out, man?
she
She's gonna
can't. Why
be.
isn't she? Oh, because she just transferred.
Yeah, well, they have to be. I think the dumb rules. They have to, I think, complete at least 3 years or turn 22 by a certain age. It's
What?
a dumb rule. Yeah, I hate it.
Because I thought, well, because she's done one there and she did one at Maryland, or she didn't do a full one over
I
there.
think she started at Maryland, and then she
Maryland.
transferred to LSU. So I think she's going into her junior year coming
Well,
up
and
here.
plus there's also the COVID wave year too.
Yes.
So that's affecting when we'll talk about that. We'll get us to get into the draft too, because that's going to affect the draft as well. A lot of these players have an extra year. A lot of this next season seniors get an extra year of eligibility due to the COVID year that from 20 and 21. So
Yeah.
a lot of players are staying back. And like I know you and Kevin talked about, they're getting more money in NIL deals than they'll get in the WNBA.
Yeah. I
So
don't
why would
blame
you want
them.
to leave that?
Why would you want to
We
leave
know. I
that?
mean, we've seen before. A lot of guys are leaving. They want to get the big money, get the check. They don't get those checks with the WNBA. So I could see you trying to leave and providing for your family in the NBA. But in WNBA, you're not making much more over 6 figures.
At all. At all. We saw the player earlier today, the player for UCLA. she had declared for the draft, but she said after having a conversation with her coach, who had some communication with some WNBA players, she said, "Listen, you have an opportunity to make more money if you return your." And she's
Yes.
like, "I'm staying," which I don't blame you. The money that these
I
players are making with these NIL deals, I mean, the max contract for a WNBA player, the max is I think $225,000. A rookie deal is you're making less than $100,000. I mean, if you make a roster spot, we're talking about 12 teams, 144 roster spots. Like, go get the bag.
Get the money while you can,
Yeah, yeah,
please. So yeah, they're definitely making it a little harder right now for those young girls to make those decisions. But yeah, it's going to
yeah,
be a lot more women staying. The thing is that when this waiver ends, I think this is the last year. Then you've got a lot more girls, young
yep.
ladies, that are now going to be wanting to go get drafted, and you still have just 12 teams with 12 spots, and there's not anybody retiring. We had
No,
what,
no
two
time
people?
soon.
We had two people retire last season.
Not
Like
happening.
I don't see anyone retiring. Maybe I don't think Tarasi's going to be gone this year. I think it might be two. I don't. There's not a lot of retiring happens. So
Nope,
then
not
you're
happening. It's
faced
not
with
happening.
trying to, then you're going to have rookies. They're going to have these girls coming in like, um, well, I think the Gamecocks have like 4 or 5 girls that are
Mm-hmm.
entering the draft.
Yeah.
I I mean, you got Aaliyah Boston, obviously, she's gonna get in there, but you got them having to compete with vets and players that have been in the league for maybe 2, 3 years, and now what? Someone it's like bumper cars now.
Yeah, and even a player like Aaliyah Boston, as strong as she is in the dominance we've seen with her with South Carolina, can you imagine
Sure.
her going up against a Asia Wilson, going up, against a Stewie? The game is more
Yeah,
physical for her, and as great as I think she was for South Carolina,
it's a
I
different
honestly think
world.
it's going to be a struggle for her to have some success in her first or second year in
Yeah.
the league.
When we heard it from Kelsey Plum when she had her whole article about, leaving college and being the top of, being the top in college and going
Hmm.
in straight into WA. She was young. She didn't know a lot of things. Her game was different. The game itself was different. And she had to really take focus and learn how to get into that one niche. And that's what I
Yep.
think a lot of these women are going to have to be doing. And so the WNBA draft is on Monday. It's going to be at 4 p.m. It's out in New York. The Fever have the first pick, followed by the Lynx and the Wings. The Wings have like 3 picks. Fever have 2. The Dream have a couple.
The
Storm
Wings
have. We
made
don't.
that big leap change to the trade,
Yeah,
right? To get okay.
yeah. So they've got the 3rd pick, the 5th pick, and then I think it's the 9th or 11th pick.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was looking at some of these, projected draft orders for the WNBA, and we also know that Maddie Segrist that left Illinois
Yes.
declared for the WNBA. They have her at like 9th or 10th, or like it was like something very low on the top 10. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
they're putting girls over her that I honestly wasn't sure of who they were. Kind of. I
I
mean, I'm
wouldn't
not.
trust those mock drafts though.
I know it is, but I just from seeing, but there's not like there's a lot of women's mock drafts happening out there right now.
Yeah,
I'm seeing
yeah.
more NFL mock drafts, and we're still like, a whole 30 days and
Away.
out from it before, we're seeing these ladies getting the love. So it's going to be interesting. I know that one of the players from Iowa State is going into it, Ashley Jones too. Haley Jones from Stanford. Stanford had that
Essence Booker from
disappointing loss.
Lady Rebel,
Oh yeah.
she's in it as well.
Oh man.
And that
So
I think I read last I read there was 80, either 80 or 88 women who have declared in this class, and some are still dropping out. But that's I mean,
and how many open spots there are? Do we have open spots?
like we don't probably don't even have half of that.
I
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
there's going to be a lot
there's
of
12 teams. They do 2 rounds, I think. So
right.
I
Well, there's going to
mean,
be a lot of practice. There are a lot of the practice teams to get
training
into
camps.
training camps, and we're going to see a lot of cuts, and we'll see how they push through. I guess. I mean, not everybody has an already stacked team like us, so I guess whatever they can do
Yeah,
to make it
yeah.
better. But
Wish them
oh
the best of luck.
man,
That's all we can do. I mean, at
it's
this
going to
point,
be tough. I just
it's
wow,
tough
wow.
anyway. Yeah, yeah. That's
But
why
I'll be
the,
looking
the
forward
the
to that.
league, such as like the Athletes Unlimited League, why it
Yeah.
is as
Oh,
small
yeah.
as it is, that league is so important to
Have
these
you been
ladies to
watching
have the
Kirsten
opportunity.
Bell? She has been she threw down in the Athletes Unlimited Basketball
Yes,
League. I
she
was
did.
like, listen,
Yeah,
if she gets some more
yep,
playing time for us at the Aces, I think that she needs to make her mark. I think, just giving her the time frame, just a couple open windows where she can get some extra time because she really showed out in that league.
there
And
were
I
some
was I
sparks
was
within the season that we saw her when she came in. She
sure.
had some runs. There were some moments where we saw great, we saw the potential in her.
Yeah. Well, just watching her and seeing her tape from when she was in college, like we knew she had it. But getting to play 1 or 2 minutes here or there when you're down or you're up by 30, it's not the same as like you're
Yeah,
actively competing in a game when people are really it just really showed for what she has and what she stands for. Of course, Sydney Colson was there too, and
yeah.
she's always
She just was
entertaining to
playing.
watch.
You could see her. She was her confidence. She had her swag. I mean, she was talking the trash. She just seemed like
Uh-huh.
she was comfortable and she was playing freely. And I think that kind of transferred on the court for her, which is why she has the success she had with Athletes Unlimited.
Right. It was great. It was
It
really
was
great to
exciting
watch.
for her.
It was great to see.
Yeah.
So I know. Okay, Lakers came back. I think it's like 8 points.
Oh, they cut the lead. Oh,
Eight,
I
9 points.
I turned
Okay, so
away from it.
I know. I was like, let me do a check because we want to talk with the NBA.
Oh
The
yeah, they
Western
did.
Conference
Wow.
is still an insane battle right now. Here's a little bit of the picture as of yesterday. We know the Bulls. My Bulls made it. They're for sure making the play-in tournament. So congratulations to the Bulls. The Bucks secured the number 1 seed in all of the playoffs, so they're going to be having the home court advantage throughout all the playoffs. Celtics secured number 2. Um,
I think
and
I just
Denver.
saw the Hawks. The Hawks, they got in. Okay, I think they got in. I saw that a couple minutes ago before we came
Mhm.
on.
Okay. And then I know the Nuggets also secured the first number 1 spot in the West. So
Okay.
you've got seats 5 through 9, where it literally, I think, is like a game or a game and a half. Or in the case of the Clippers and the Lakers, they're literally zero point 0.5 away from the Warriors tied.
And what, do they have one more game left, or is this the
I
last?
The last games are on the 9th, I
Okay.
believe. I think the 9th. So we've got like a few days left. I'm not sure how many games for each team, maybe 1, 2, who knows. But
Wow. It's coming down to the wire,
it's
literally.
coming down to the wire. And what's crazy is because me and Mo, I've been always talking to her about her, I'd be bagging on her Lakers. Are you a Lakers fan too? I don't.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, so bagging y'all Lakers fans. Because you were barely making the play-in tournament, and all of a sudden now you may just make the playoffs, but of course you make that playoff, you win the 6th seed or whatever. Are you going against Denver? Are you going to, it's gonna be a tough road, but
They've
I
been
just
playing. They've actually been playing well. Like the last 4 games, they've been.
mhm.
I mean, Anthony Davis, he's been carrying the team. LeBron James,
AD,
I
look,
think the
it
night
took
before
them
last.
street clothes off finally and is making a difference.
Yeah, man. So it's interesting. The 74-85 right now. 3 minutes left in the third quarter.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow,
Yep.
wow, wow. So it's intense. It's intense. The Warriors have been having crazy games. Poole hit for 18 in the 4th yesterday, which carried them
Wow.
over Oklahoma City. Yeah. The Kings clinching their first. So first of all, my Mariners had the longest standing drought for 20 plus years, right? So once
Yes.
we we got in the playoffs last year, the next on the list was the Kings,
And they
and
came
the Kings
through.
not and they not only clinched the playoffs, but they're also Pacific Division champions. Hasn't
Yes.
happened since 2003.
They just have a young squad that they're hungry and you can see it. They are playing great basketball.
That's something to watch too, because as Mo would say, the young Tito's. They got the young Tito's out there that really just be
Yeah.
out there rocking and doing the things. Pistons clinched the NBA's worst record this season so far, so they are hopeful to get that number 1 draft pick.
Gosh.
And
Man, they trying to
yeah.
get Bam in. They They set themselves up great, and they mission
They
accomplished.
sure did. They sure listen, whether it was tanking or not, we won't know, but they sure definitely are setting themselves up for that
Man,
one. That's just great. And then we got the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors have had their struggles, but they got Wiggins, who supposedly he's back with the team now.
what is up with
He's
that drama? What is up with
and he
that?
won't talk about it. He
Some say
just
he was cheating. Some say he took a leave of absence to be with his father, who's been dealing with
right.
a medical illness. The wife came out and said the reports of him cheating are absolutely false. Why did you make
Well, I
up
thought there were
these
reports of
allegations?
her cheating.
Oh, it was her. I thought it was him.
I thought it was her cheating. If
Oh
anybody's
my
in the
god.
comments, I thought it was her cheating and that he needed to take time off. Of course, there was also that it was his father that was ill, but then he didn't even when they had the presser, he was like, I just want to leave it at that, respect the family's privacy, but it was a family matter. But I'm like, 22 games?
That's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, all
That's a
respect
lot.
to family and family, everybody has family issues. If you got to go handle it, you got to handle it. But that's a long time he was gone. So now, Kerr mentioned that he's not going to be back this week. Like they're going to have to assess him and figure out where it's at before they put him back into the lineup. So,
Oh, I can imagine, especially if it was his wife cheating and all. I mean, that was a long time that he was away. 22 games, like
I,
that could be nasty.
that's what I said. I mean, those were,
That's drama,
this is according to like the shade room
of
and
course. Yeah,
other things
if it
like
came from
that.
TMZ, then I would probably believe it a little bit more.
Right. And
They always
I'm
have all
not
the
sure if
tea.
they were there or not, but like I said, it was just I'm glad he's back, but it's almost like
Are
what
you
else
really? How
I,
productive can you be to the team at this point?
in 22 games, like you would think, and God forbid, like there was like a death in the family and you took some time off, but even then we've seen people come after like a
Hmm.
week back or a few games back after losing a family member, and it's I don't know, maybe his priorities are just different, which is fine. It just seems crazy. We've never seen this kind of situation before, I guess. And that's
Yeah,
was just a little wild. So
crazy.
but yeah, this basketball these next few days. I know Kev chimed in and said that the last games are on Sunday. So
Okay,
we will
cool.
see
Sunday.
by Sunday how all the chips fall. I did want to share a little video because everybody knows that I'm a beach girl. I love the pool. I love the sun. I love the water. And I know that the guys on NBA and TNT always talk about, everybody takes the boat to Cancun when they're not in the playoffs and they're getting it out.
Yeah.
Well, I think Reggie Bullock from the Mavs may be onto something because we all know the Mavs are struggling. They've been continued to be losing. They've literally dropped, I think, a 90% chance of playoff berth from the last 2 months. They went from like 96 to now like 3% or 6% of chance of making the
Jeez.
playoffs. But Reggie Bullock went to Belize and bought himself his own private island that he's nicknaming Bullock Island. Play
Wow.
it. So he bought an island. He's building a resort for family, friends, guests. I'm all for it. But
And where
it's
is this?
funny
Where
because
is it at?
in Belize, it's a little
Okay.
island off of Belize. I think it's Palencia or something like that. Like I think it's a little bit north of Belize.
Is that where he's
But
from, or does he have any ties there? Or is
I don't think so. I think it's just he wanted to invest in some land. Other people are buying cars and have multiple homes. And he's like, screw it, I'm buying an island. And I am not mad at him.
nice? Duh.
But
Okay.
yeah, of course the comments are full of, well, that's where you're going in a couple days. So you might as well
Petty,
get that
petty.
resort going, get that resort started.
The internet does not hold back
They do not at all.
at all.
I don't know. Are you a Dodgers fan too then? Are you part of the Dodgers
Yeah, I'm
mafia
a
as
Dodgers fan, but I
well?
haven't been really up on the whole baseball thing. I was so wrapped into the NCAA thing. I haven't really
Right.
dived into everything that's happening with baseball. I know it kicked off a week last weekend, but I haven't really been following it too much.
I mean, it's the first week. We can't really get in deep down into the wins and losses. It's only the first week, but there are a few highlights that I wanted to show because we all know that there's a pitch clock now. So this season
Yes.
there's a new pitch clock, and it's already become an issue, or I guess a blessing for some. And here's just a few highlights of that.
At times. That's a strikeout. There's a violation. Ron Culpa just rung up Manny Machado. We're on the clock here this year, and that's an automatic strike, and it happens to be strike 3. Here comes Bob Melvin. Ron Culpa, the crew chief, behind the plate. And somebody's been ejected. Looks like Machado
will lead off against Carlos Carrasco, making his first start of the year, and a violation called on Carrasco before he throws a pitch. Unable to get the pitch off before the timer ticked down to 0, so it's a 1-0 count.
Pitch clock violation here has been called against Ohtani. With Cal Raleigh about.
It's not in the batter's box at 8 seconds, or I guess not in there in 8 seconds.
He's got.
So you had Manny Machado getting ejected and striking out after the pitch clock violation, which he wasn't fond of, so then he got ejected. Carlos Carrasco, so before the game even started, he didn't even throw one pitch, and he already had a 1-0 count because the pitch clock for him had expired. And then Ohtani became the first player, because he's the first pitcher and hitter combined to have basically a clock violation as both a pitcher and hitter. So
what is the actual time limit on it? What is the actual?
15 seconds.
Okay.
And I think for the batter, you have to be in the batter's box by, I think, the 8th second.
That was just new this year, added this year, right?
Yeah, the pitch clock.
Okay.
So it's already causing some
drama
in the world, which is insane. The last 2 clips I want to show are just, of course, of my Mariners because they're awesome, but they're not. Castillo, this guy caught this pass behind his back, and he doesn't even look at it. So I want to show that clip real quick too. Or here it is.
A little lasso behind the back from Luis Castillo to take one away. 2 gone.
Did he do that on purpose? It looked like he did it in style, but
too crazy. I mean, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he was just kind of swinging around, and bam, there you got it. You caught it. It was pretty.
It looked pretty. It looked pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty. And then we've got Peterson of the Giants, who hit 109-mile-per-hour ball, literally went straight through the ribbing of the White Sox first baseman. Watch this.
Oh my goodness, 109 off the bat
and went right through the webbing of the glove.
Wow. Right through.
Jeez. That came fast.
Somebody in the comments was like, when you get your mid-off wish.
He didn't even have time to react. I mean, and then, geez.
It was crazy, right? And it's funny because usually you see players that do that little mid check when they clearly have missed a ball that they're going for. And this guy, you literally know he caught the ball, just went straight through his mid.
Where'd you go?
Base hit for him.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
109 miles per hour. That's
109 miles. I don't even want to be near that ball having to try and field that.
No, thank you. Nope.
It's too much, and it's a lot. I did have there was a special moment because there's a new rookie for the A's, a pitcher, Shinichiro Fujinami, and so they're playing the Angels against Ohtani. So there's a big Japanese vibe there, of course, but you get to see a reaction of his mom watching him for the first time pitching Major League Baseball.
nice.
And striking out Mike Trout is nothing to be. That's a big move right there.
Yeah.
So baseball's officially back. Of course, I know we're all still going to be in this NBA mode.
82-96. 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
They pulled back away.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we go, I'm going to bypass the usual sneaker drops and jugadores. We can deal with those next week when I know Mo loves them. But I did want to shout out for a girl power. There's the National Women's Soccer League, and they've
In Cali,
got
right?
there's a new expansion team coming to the Bay. So this team is part of their ownership group includes the U.S. Women's National Team legends like Brandy Chastain, Leslie Osborne, Danielle Slayton, and Allie Wagner. The team's name and venue haven't been determined yet, but the team is the 14th in the league now and is set to begin in 2024. So it's great not only to see another women's professional team here or in general, but also seeing it being funded by women.
Yeah. They've been having some good moments for them. They got that contract money. I mean, things have been going in the right direction for them, overdue. So, I mean,
yes.
Kudos.
Well,
yeah.
I think, and we talked about it before, I think it was Kansas City, their women's team, their women's National Women's Soccer League team is getting their own stadium just for them, which we don't see that. We don't even see that here for the Vipers or nothing. So.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not
I
at
saw
all.
you real quick. I saw you got a chance to go to one of the Viper games a couple weeks ago. How was that whole experience?
I went to a couple. So listen, I've talked to them about there is just no reason why they should be at Cashman.
It's
when
so
you watch
trash, right?
the XFL games on TV and you're like, wow, these guys are in college stadiums. The Seattle plays at Lumen Field. They're playing where the Seahawks play. So the fact that you got these teams playing in these great places, like the fact that they're playing at Cashman is like, okay, I get maybe they couldn't beat Allegiant. I know that Sam Boyd's closed. But why, there was the last time I went there was a kid from Bishop Gorman. I told Mo this is that he had mentioned that, they did the XFL did offer Bishop Gorman to use their stadium, which I think would have been fine. But I think Bishop Gorman is the one that didn't want that.
I mean, they have Bishop Gorman has their facilities over there their field is is nice.
And he said that they already had worked with ESPN, so they have all the workings for the cameras and everything. When you look at it,
I hope even on TV it looks so amateur.
Well, what's crazy is that even though last Saturday was the Vipers' last home game, and shout out to their new quarterback that they got. They picked up just after their last loss. So last week, they picked up Jalen McClendon. So he actually got the win for them last Saturday against the Brahms. He went 21 for 31, had 2 touchdowns. Great game. But now the Vipers have 3 games on the road. That was the last home game. Their record is 2-6. Unless they win these next 3 games, they're not going to be in any kind of playoff. So the fact that now you're keeping the lights from coming home until May 5th, you're keeping anything else from happening because the Lights have a game. They had a game tonight that they had to take place at UNLV against a part of the U.S. Cup. That took place today, but they couldn't have it at Cashman because the Vipers. But the Vipers aren't here anymore. They're gone. Their season is now all on the road.
Who planned that? That's.
But if you were to see how they have, I mean, when you look on TV, it's a little different, maybe. But when you're there, you can barely see a clock. You really can't see a clock. You don't know what the score is because there's one scoreboard and it's on the makeshift tower that they have the broadcasters and the offensive and defensive line coaches sitting and calling plays from. It's just kind of a disaster. Although the media area is beautiful, the media area is all inside. It's all, it's a great little area.
How was the whole fan? How was the fan? How did the fans take?
Diehard fans, because the first home game it was downpour raining. The second home game it was wind gusts of 50 miles an hour. So the fans still came out. I'd say I think they had 6,000 or 7,000 the first week. The second week maybe it was 3 or 4. But you're also going against UFC concerts. T-Mobile had
Taylor
March
Swift
Madness.
Was here last weekend, and that was bananas.
So much was going on, and it's hard to also compete. But they definitely have a base. They'll have a crowd base, and I think people love it. It's just I think all of us, including all the other fans of the other teams, know that we're really getting gypped as far as the location. We're in Vegas, and this is
no, yeah, that's not it.
That's not it. And also shout out to our Vegas Golden Knights who clinched a playoff berth. They are not only, I always report this, they're always first of the Pacific Division, but we are actually first in the Western Conference right now. And I know tickets are on sale. You can start getting tickets for that first round. So make sure if you want tickets, go to access.com and get those tickets. I did before we gotta go. I gotta shut out. Listen, Kelsey Plum is doing some major things out there in the off season.
Fire, right? That I was like, come through,
Listen,
KP.
come through. KP
Yes.
is a full-fledged model. She's out here for the GSTQ line, which is also owned by XFL owner Danny Garcia.
She killed it.
She is killing it.
Yes.
Listen, I can't.
She's killing it. She has that marriage glow on her, and she's like, I want all of it.
She's
Yes.
loving life. I mean, she's probably gonna have a house out in New York pretty soon too. So
yeah, I'm here for it, KP. It is
all for it.
She's doing it.
All for it. Hey, listen, that's gonna be it for the show tonight. I appreciate you for coming on, Miss Ballin D. It's always great to chat with you. We'll definitely have to catch up soon. I'm sure we'll see you at Aces game, but let's catch up because but yeah. Tell everybody where they can find you, like on social media, and when your guys' show is.
Absolutely. You can find me on social media under Miss Ballin D. You can follow my sports page, No Plays All Sports Talk, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And our show is each and every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Hot 702.5 FM.
Awesome. All right, y'all. We'll catch you next week. Hopefully Mo is feeling better, and we'll see how her Lakers do. Mo, we love you. We wish you well. And I'll catch y'all next week. See you later.
All right. Have a good night.